Boom! Let's get the script rolling. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of What We Tell the Kids. My love, what do you have to tell the peoples?
Welcome back, everybody. It's so nice to be here once again. It feels like we've been missing in action for a while.
This is a weekly podcast of What We Tell the Kids. Thank you all so very much. I know this is an awkward position for me to be leaning over and staring into my camera, but it's quite seductive.
No, it's not.
So I'm going to do it from the shoulder, and I'm going to say lots of love to everybody for showing us so much of love in our first video. Thank you. It was an overwhelming experience. So I really appreciate it, and I'm sure my wife does as well.
Yes. I've been getting comments. I've been getting comments, and people have been asking when's the next one coming out, and they've been giving cool suggestions.
Just to get some things out of the way. So to anybody who is still wondering, when are these guys going to give over the Prime subscription, and are they handing over Gary V's book? And yes, we are. Up until we do open the competition up to the public, then we're going to have comments and so on come through on the video that we say. So yeah, back to our topic for today. And the topic for today is, are we raising soft kids in a hard world?
Yeah, I think let's have a chat about that. Kids of the past, the kids that we were when we were growing up, I think we had quite a bit of advantages, but when we refer to it, when we chat to our kids, we say we were disadvantaged.
But the question again is, are we raising soft kids in this hard world? And I think one of the important things to discuss is the difference between how we were raised. And I know in the last episode we spoke about getting hit by a slipper and so on, but there was a lot more discipline surrounding our the way in which we were being raised. That's fairly true. So there was a lot more discipline. May have not been the same for you, but in my household there surely was. And there was a difference in the love dynamic. The love dynamic is simply, we show you X amount of affection, which is probably your good morning, probably an I love you before bed, if at all, and maybe a hug every now and then if you did something well. And then the rest of it, the 95% was discipline. And it was discipline, education 24/7. So what do you think about that?
I think we were all brought up that way, and I think we try to instill some of that in our kids now. It doesn't come across that way because I think kids that are in this day and age don't appreciate our kind of discipline because they think it's brutal. And I must be honest, we as parents need to evolve, which is conversations that we've been having recently, you and I. The thing is, when we were disciplined, it was very much parents, my mom and dad, were on the same front. However, these days, there's so many different opinions on how kids should be raised. You get opinions from grandparents, from friends, from how friends' parents have been parenting them. So it's different. And whereas when we were growing up, it was just what we knew. If no was no, yes is yes, and that's how it was. But
I think that's ultimately how I choose to parent. And anyone who disagrees with me, including yourself, you are welcome and entitled to your opinion. I do not choose to look onto social media and now discover the new psychological 2025 best practice methods in how I should be raising my kids. If you go down that rabbit hole, you're going to discover that if you bring your child to my house, your kid, if he's 2 years old or younger, is going to watch Miss Rachel. And we don't allow Cocomelon. But if I'm going to take my kid to your house, for example, you do allow Cocomelon in your house. Now, that difference of opinion that we don't approve of Cocomelon because we feel as if though it's overstimulating for our child is going to conflict with your ideology of it.
Of course, but also let's be honest. Our parents didn't have the very free and available access to social media. And I guess if they did, and let's put our parents into this day and age, I think they would have also may or may not, I don't know, I can't speak for them, but maybe they would have sort of used the lessons that comes up on social media in this day and age. Because let's be honest, right? There are certain things that we never would have known. For example, honey, right? Who would ever know? I didn't know this. I mean, I had two other bigger kids, and it's only much recently, I would say in the last, ever since baby was born, that I have now realized that honey is actually not good for babies. We grew up eating this stuff, and I am so sure that our moms and our dads or our parents and grandparents slipped in honey when we were babies because it was good for some reason and an old wives' tale. We would have never known if we never had access to social media.
Yeah, and just in case anybody is wondering, we used to have mic stands, and
Yes.
the shock mounts for them did break. So unfortunately,
That wasn't my fault.
yeah, we just solo running this while holding the mics today.
Mm.
Back to your point, I think that when it comes to things such as honey, it was allowed in the past. It's never allowed now. There's different types of recommendations as science is improving.
Correct.
There's a whole different vast spectrum of how parents should be parents. I believe in the old-fashioned method of parenting. I believe in the orthodox form of discipline. I believe in giving value and adding value to your child's life to get that point. There we go. There we go. I'm doing it again.
I'm gonna take over from that. I completely agree with you, and I'll tell you again. When it comes to discipline, our house and our home, the Sink residence, we are extremely firm on discipline and how discipline should be portrayed in our house and outside of our house. We believe that kids need to be brought up with morals and values. That is non-negotiable. So if you sway away from what is right and what is wrong, you will get hammered in this house. Okay, not physically, but you will get disciplined. That is it. When it comes to other things, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm a social media expert.
Yeah, no, I don't look to any video to teach me how to be a father, and that's probably an ego thing. It's probably an Indian thing, and arrogance and ignorance within us that if we were raised a certain way, that it was the best way. So back in our day.
Mm.
And that's the next thing I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with you and I, has everything to do with what our parents used to tell us. So back in our day. Apparently, my father used to walk through snow to get to school.
Winter is coming.
That's true. My one used to jump over the river. I think, no, but literally, I can agree because where we lived, there was this like a river, right? And to get to school, there were like little rocks in the middle of the river, and they had to go tuk 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 over the blocks to get to the rocks to get to the school. And
to get the blocks to the rocks to the rocks to get to the blocks.
And then when we were growing up, right, and I was in primary school, there was a river that we used to play in. And I'm not sure if there's any kids that went to the school that I went to, Suzella Primary, you would know that little dirty river that was opposite the school, that one that we used to jump through, that's the one that we still tell our kids about, that we used to cross to go to school. You know what? It makes an excellent story.
You know what, as far as I'm concerned, Suzella Primary, now you're jumping through dirty rivers. So if you, in your generation, were jumping through the river or running through the river,
It was a stream. It was a stream.
Or doing whatever you were doing through the stream, then probably your father built the stream, and then your great-grandfather was the one that laid the foundational rocks of it. And the way in which Indian parents tell us stories, it makes us believe as if though they were presidents of the country at some point. Or alternatively to that, they used to fight. The struggle was extremely real. You know, at some point when I listen to older folk speak, it almost seems like they fought the struggle of apartheid with their bare hands. It's amazing how our parents can narrate these stories to us. I don't know what stories you have to tell our kids. What do we tell the kids about our childhood? Well, you were running through dirty, muddy rivers.
It was fun. Look, we didn't have to cross the river or the stream to get to school. We just liked playing there. And there's a difference because it was just fun. It was exciting. But the one story I tell my kids about is the fact that we didn't have access to phones and the sort of social media that they have now. And I spent all my life in our library. It was this little dingy little library that we had called. It was Sazala library, but it was in the country club. So we used to all after school gather there and read books. And I remember Sweet Valley High and what was the other? I can't remember offhand, but there was Ghostbusters and all of these books that Goosebumps. We used to love. That was our escape into this little fairy made world and magical little escape from reality. That's all we had. And when I talk to my kids and I tell them about my childhood, that's what I tell them about. I didn't have the access to social media that they do. And we played outside, we played on trees. I dislocated my shoulder, I dislocated my leg, my knee, scraped bruises, drank from the garden hose outside. All of these things, those are the things that we grew up with.
That is very true. And if anyone is wondering, so where are these magical places? Sazela is in Durban, South Africa. So if you're traveling in direction of Amanzimtoti onwards, if you pass Umkomas or UK or United Kingdom, the UK of South Africa, you're going to end up somewhere along the line of a small little town called Sazela, where Ilovo Sugar is. And that is where my wife was born, raised, and lived for a portion of her life up until she was about 18 years old plus. I, on the other hand, am from a quaint town, third biggest city in KwaZulu-Natal. It is a little place called Newcastle, and Newcastle was a mining town. It still is steel manufacturing, with ArcelorMittal being one of the biggest manufacturers within the town itself. But more about Newcastle and Sazela in maybe a little bit of a documentary series where we take you guys on a journey to go and see those places for yourself.
Oh, that would be nice.
So that would be nice. Parents, yes. Back to the topic of it. Our fathers really fought the fight, and they did everything that they could to be heroic in our eyes.
Yeah,
and they are heroes to us.
Of course,
our mothers are heroes to us.
Yes.
And I think for every child has to admit that when your father is shouting at you, if you get slapped, if your mum is angry with you, in that moment, it is normal human tendency to feel a little bit of pain. And that pain may seem like they are your enemy at this point, because how could you ever be wrong as a kid?
All part of getting older. It's all part of becoming this journey of becoming an adult or as becoming more mature. Is you have to learn. I think that's what life is about. You learn from the lessons of your parents. You learn from the things that you were taught. That and more especially, these lessons come from a place of hurt. No parent will tell you a story because, well, if it didn't impact them in some way.
And I didn't have a life lesson associated with it.
Yes.
A life lesson.
A life lesson. And I think, like, with my parents, they were very strict because of the fact that we came from a very small town. And the women and the females in the small town, when we were growing up, it wasn't very common for females to get a job and move out. It was common to become a housewife. It was very common to get married, have kids, and be a loving wife and a mom. And the generation that I grew up in, we broke the norm. And we wanted to get jobs, and we wanted to move out, and we wanted to leave. I think the reason why our parents were as hard on us as we were, the small town mentality forced them to protect their children and to want more and a better life for them. So I think our generation that grew up in Sazela, my generation rather, I think that is where we moved away from the norm of being housewives and being moms, and we just wanted to be more.
I don't think our kids are prepared for a lot of things. I'm not killing the dream of children out there. What I'm trying to say is simple. And this new generation is coddled too much. I love my kids and I will do everything possible to ensure that they know that I love them. But I will also be the sword.
Say it the way you want to say it. Say it.
I will not spare the swad. I will not spare the swad.
You suck. Rose, if you're listening to this, this man. So yeah, I'll tell you a joke about that one day, but not now.
Tell the joke now.
Oh, okay. My dad, right? Growing up, there was a few things that he used to say. And I love it now, because now that they're no longer around, these memories make those little things that he used to say so worth it. So he was a pastor, right? And in the church when he used to preach, if you sat under his ministry, you would know that his famous line was, no. It was, instead of sword, he used to say swad. Swad.
Sword!
And the Bible is full of those words, and that amongst others. But yeah, my husband remembers that
there's
one.
There's one thing which my brother-in-law always tells me about, and that's that he used to say for suicide, he used to say suicide. So, or suicide.
Sus on you.
There's no sus involved. It is absolute cherished memories.
Yeah, like I said, these kinds of things make those memories so worth it. So, yeah.
How do you like the new environment? We have ditched the bedroom. We've come into a different place. We're now recording from a sort of studio set environment. I think it looks gorgeous. I don't know about you. I'm looking at the monitors around the room, and everyone's giving us the go-ahead that we actually look quite nice.
Yeah,
so what do you think, guys? Do you want us to go back to the bedroom where we're recording the podcast from bed?
I think it's amazing. I like it. Change of scenery is always good. So
absolutely. Absolutely. There's so many things which I remember from the first episode, things that I used to say, like, absolutely, and the way in which I drag my words and so on. And I swear to God, I don't do it deliberately. Like, I'm not sure that like my mother says, why do you speak with such a twang? She said, why did you speak with such a twang? We were in Newcastle and she told me that.
Yeah, no, he's got I always say he's got a corporate voice. He's got a corporate voice. People that know me know I speak like this most days, except when I'm shouting at my kids, because the neighbors downstairs would know that the voice that they hear is completely different to what they hear when I'm speaking on this podcast. Because when I shout at my kids, the neighbors start getting dressed and start cleaning their rooms. It is not soft. It's not called soft parenting. I don't agree with the term soft parenting, because it is parenting. It is your style of parenting, and that's it. You may look at it as soft parenting, but it's not. It is another way of parenting that may not be as you see it, but it doesn't make it soft. It's still hard. It's hard for us as women, as mothers, looking at other parents having to parent their kids and thinking, are we doing things the right way? Are we traumatizing our kids? Are we giving them long-term trauma? And it's not easy for parents out there. So calling it soft, I think labeling it as soft and hard parenting isn't fair.
It's incredible how different styles of parenting influence different kids. And I'm not here to teach you what you should do in your home. I'm here to tell you that, yes, you're doing the best you can. I appreciate that. You appreciate that for yourself. Hats off to you for everything you try to do and engage with your Hats off to you for everything you do as a parent, because that means the most to the kids and it means the most to their development and their future. However, if I were to get back to this whole gentle parenting saga and debate, I do feel that we can be a little bit more stricter in this 21st century. I feel like we can do just a little bit more to ensure that our kids are more prepared for the harsher realities that exist within life, because right now the world doesn't look as pretty as it used to when I was 15, 16, 17, 18 years old.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. But I just think, again, let's not label it. Let's just say we all have our own styles of parenting, and it's completely fine to parent your child how you feel you should. But always keep a united front. As parents, a united front is necessary.
Absolutely. One style of parenting that does not require a whole lot of hard work, especially if you are rich, is the Housewives of Durban. And it is something that we've been watching on Showmax. So for our recommendation this week, let's talk about the Real Housewives of Durban. I always say the Desperate Housewives of Durban because I think that used to be a show back in the day.
Yes, that was Desperate Housewives. That was a series on, what was it, Mnet or something.
Yeah, well, this is the Real Housewives of Durban. So what can the viewers expect from the Real Housewives of Durban? And why are we so engaged in it?
Drama.
Absolutely. I think you could expect drama, you could expect chaos and more side eyes than a PTA meeting.
Yeah, it was love it. We love it. The Real Housewives of Durban, it is such a interesting look at how women in general that don't have the simple lives that we live and all the interesting things that they do and how they go about their lives and parent their kids. It's just amazing to see another side of the coin, which we don't often see.
Real Housewives is something that's extremely entertaining for me, and there's so much of drama and chaos. I have no idea what it is about it, but all I can tell you is that I need an Uncle Viv in my life.
You just like the fights.
No, I'm not worried about the cat fights. It's not about the women fighting amongst each other. It's about the lifestyle. It's about how people interact with each other. When you're at that level of finances, when you have a bank account that's bigger than some people's houses, when you drive a Rolls Royce into a production set. And I think that sort of luxury, it's fun and entertaining to watch. And I'm going to say again, Uncle Viv, Uncle Viv, you can sponsor our podcast. Uncle Viv, please sponsor our podcast. We would love you to.
I think even the dogs are spoiled. I mean, the dogs are the cutest thing ever.
Absolutely. We're only pointing out Surisha Naidu with this one. But we also love Nonku.
Yes, of course.
Nonku Williams International.
Yeah. My kids.
And Jojo.
My kids love Jojo, yes. Kids being my 19-year-old, by the way.
So, yes, don't forget that there are age restrictions to these programs. So, yeah. Nonky Nonks and Jojo and Surisha Naidu and whatever. So that's our series recommendation of the week. It's not family friendly, but it is something that if you and your husband or you and your wife want to get together and just watch a little bit of local South African drama, go ahead and watch The Housewives of Durban. Book of the week. I Can't Make This Up by Kevin Hart. And it's a book of the week recommendation because I was going through my library and I absolutely loved this book. It was a book that had me in stitches. I Can't Make This Up by Kevin Hart. By Kevin Hart? No, by Kevin Hart. By Kevin Hart, Mr. Hart himself. It's hilarious. It's brutally honest. It's funny. And it's low-key full of life lessons. When I tell you that no book has been able to make me laugh in such a way that when I turned the page, I was literally giggling. Do you remember that time when I read the book?
Yes, I do.
Tears in my eyes. It was an amazing book. And that's my recommendation for this week in terms of books. I just went back to it to rediscover Kevin Hart's life. And it was so inspirational to see that he came from nothing and he genuinely earned his way to success. That was something that's incredible for me. So, yeah, my love. Are we raising soft kids? Maybe. But we're also raising kind ones, and sometimes the hardest thing is to be tough in this world.
Yeah, we are. I think we do the best we can. That is my mantra. We try, if we fail, we try again. There's no parent out there that can say that they have it all together. And I hope that my kids one day will appreciate the fact that I didn't keep them on a pedestal. We taught them exactly what it was to get their hands dirty, like their dad says.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah. We gave them good life lessons. We taught them how to be good bankers of their own finances. And we also gave them some good life lessons. So, yeah.
Well, that's true, and that's true.
Nothing soft
and
about that.
That's true. Nothing soft about that. Soft parenting is quite overrated, actually. Just be a good parent. In a way in which you would want to have been parented so that you make the least amount of mistakes.
Yeah. Amen
I think
to
that's
that.
the best way. So, yes, guys, thanks for joining the episode. It was episode 2 of What We Tell the Kids. If you loved, cried, or threatened to cancel your child's Wi-Fi, just give us a follow. Just come ahead, come along, join for the journey. We still doing this at night. That's the dad life. That is the dad life. So yes, thank you guys so much for joining What We Tell the Kids episode 2, and I hope you enjoyed this episode.
We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.